So what's going on here? What?
Big clue. This is the British Grand Prix, and it's the venue of the first ever Formula One Grand Prix in 1950, which is way older than you or I.
This has been going for 75 years?
It's cool, right? And so here we are to find out what it takes to put on a Formula One race in terms of the engineering, the innovation, and explore places that people rarely get to see. We're going in Scuderia Ferrari's garage.
Ferrari,
Ferrari.
the car,
Them.
the red fast car.
That's them in the pit lane, in the garage. We're going to be talking to an engineer. We got our friends Bitdefender, who are one of the key partners with Ferrari.
Bitdefender, they're like a cybersecurity.
Good knowledge.
No, I knew that.
They are, but they're also going to help us explore the innovation and engineering. For me, Formula One is the pinnacle of innovation and engineering.
Okay, I'm an astrophysicist. That would be landing on Mars with an SUV-sized rover, or humans walking on the moon.
Anyone else see that one coming? Tell you what, you're going to fall in love with the red beauty that's down there.
I'll put it number 2, but I ain't going to number 1.
And we'll see after you've been down there.
The Silverstone track is a former airfield. The straights are long, so you really can floor it and go for it. But they've also built in a number of long, I'd call them luxurious, luscious bends, and you get that speed. But as we found out, they're pulling stupid amounts of G.
Normally when we think of G-forces, we think of something that's pressing down on you, straight the length of your spine. So 2 things will affect the G-forces in the turn. One of them is how fast you're going into the turn. The second is how tight the turn is. Both of those combined can increase, the tighter the turn, the faster you're going will increase the G-forces sideways. And these guys are hitting 3, 4, 5G, so 5G sideways. You know, your heart is just kind of dangling there in your chest.
Oh, don't do that.
Your head is like bobbing on your neck.
Which is why you see the drivers, they've got this kind of brace around their neck, this contraption that
I noticed
attaches
it
them,
in the compartment, they're shoulder to shoulder with the size of their seating area. And their head is restrained, right? So they can't, the head is not just some...
Can you imagine being flopping around like that and you're getting 5G slid through the side of you?
At 5Gs, your inner organs, they're going to feel it.
It's brutal. What can we compare that with?
So when NASA launches astronauts, they throttle such that they don't experience more than 3 Gs. So that's why not the solid rocket boosters, which are unthrottleable.
Right.
Once you light those puppies, it goes. Okay, until they run out, then you separate them. And then the main engine, that's the one that they can throttle. And so that throttles in response to what these G-forces will be. And they're seated as you see, you know how they get into the spacecraft. So that one's actually against their chest because they're seated backwards. But keep in mind, that's sustained for the entire launch. And that can go up to several minutes, maybe even up to 8 minutes.
What actually blew me away, not the fact that when you get close up to one of the cars, just how bloody big it is, but because they're modular, you can just pop parts of the car off.
They're putting the nose on right now. And the most modular part are the tires. Right?
Don't blink.
You watch their 4 tires, you turn your head this way, you turn your head back, and it's 4 new tires on the car. I timed them. It was like 2.1 seconds or something.
And they'll get it sub 2.
Get back left. So Gary, let's see what Federico had to say on that very subject.
This is also a track-dependent discussion because imagine in Italy we have Monza. Monza is a track in which you reach very high speed. And for that, you need a car that has less drag as possible.
So you have to shape this for the track, for the needs of the race.
Every track,
tune it.
we can tune the aero surfaces, we can tune the setup, we can tune many things.
What are the big concerns for setting this car up for Silverstone, as opposed now to
Monaco, where there's lots of tight curves, no straights, no lovely luscious bends.
Yeah, Silverstone is a temple in terms of high-speed corner. These kind of cars, when you are moving full throttle through these corners, if you go up to 4G of lateral acceleration, you need to have load on the tires.
Yes, to grip the road. Otherwise, you will fly
need grip,
off.
Otherwise, you would slide.
So you need maximum friction between your tires and the road.
You need to put as much load as you can on the tires such that you maximize the grip.
This is my first Formula One race ever. It was raining.
Oh, that's British summer.
I did not know. Summer. It was raining at 50 degrees.
It's cold and wet, and it's July.
So I was surprised. I was just ignorant of this, that you could race in the rain.
You see what they did with not increasing the mass of the car, but increasing the weight on the car with the downforce.
The force.
Yeah.
The force.
Because when it's wet, it's slippy, as we've discussed already, and
You need higher downward force.
And how they go about achieving this.
So the aerodynamics going over the car, there's the car shape itself, which surely they've thought about. But then they got these add-ons, right? There's an airfoil, basically creates extra air pressure down on the rear wheels, which is where your traction is coming from, not the front wheels.
No.
The structure of the airfoil as an add-on to the chassis enables the air to create a higher downward force, which increases the friction between the tires and the road, which then gives you more traction, because your traction is 100% determined by that friction. Now, have you ever seen, if you sit over the wing in an airplane flight, and you watch it when it takes off and when it lands, the wing gets bigger.
Yeah.
There's a piece of the wing that
extends out.
It extends out and curves down. So the more wing surface they have, the more lift. And since it curves down, there's pressure, air pressure on it to lift it up. Now take that whole thing and flip it. And now what they had on the Formula One was there's a curved surface that comes up. That's that extra lift the plane is getting by pointing down. Now you want extra pressure coming down from the speed going forward. And that's what's on the back of the Formula One.
You were down on the ground because you couldn't believe just how close.
Right.
Very, very low center of mass. Very stable on turns, on everything, like 3 fingers.
Then the airspeed is going to be very high across the ground. The car is dragging air with it.
Yeah.
Okay?
The unseen
Okay, it's
aspect of it,
dragging air with it. So that will create a partial pressure upwards, because moving air has lower pressure than stationary air. And what did I hear? At one of the races, a car drove so fast down the street, it sucked up one of the drain covers and it hit the bottom of the chassis.
In Vegas, they hadn't sealed it properly to make sure it stayed where it was put.
Okay, because underneath the drain is regular air pressure.
Yep.
And fast-moving air is lower air pressure. That's very Bernoulli. And so if you have a difference in pressure, watch out.
We were looking at Carlos Sainz's car, the Ferrari, and it was he who had one of these drain covers pop as he drove over it. So
anything hitting anything moving 180 miles an hour is bad.
Yeah, totally not good. And I'm sure the garage were very unhappy.
Right.
But the garage was fun. All the Ferrari mechanics start to do exercises.
Oh, no, that was fun. Yeah, that was a little weird.
They did a warm-up. I
It's
was not expecting.
And they all
They did calisthenics.
They started doing, they did jumping jacks.
Yes.
They had a rubber hose that they were stretching.
Yeah.
They were pressing on their neck. And I thought I'd join in with them. And I got some of the stretching and things.
You were there.
And they did lunges.
I know.
And at first I was wondering, what are they doing? They're just killing time. They have to be nimble and ready when the car comes in for the pit stop, so that the pit stop doesn't last more than 2.5 seconds.
All 4 wheels are on, secured, and the car's out in under 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds. It's impressive.
Right.
To say
Now,
the
of course,
very
they
least.
lose more time than that because they have to slow down to go into the lane. There's 50-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Yeah, you can't. Can you imagine coming in at 100 miles an hour? It'd be like 10-pin bowling. You'd skittle people everywhere.
With people 10-pin bowling.
And then I think back to the sort of fan zone area we ended up in.
Well, the fan zone, right, because they also had the simulated driving experience.
Am I supposed to go on the grass? Is that allowed?
As I remember, Formula One pledged to go carbon neutral
Yes.
by 2030. I'm told they're on track to beat that date.
And they're going synthetic.
No,
Partly.
not synthetic. So here's what they're doing. They're taking, after my long conversation with the person in the booth,
Yeah.
what she said was they're going to take water and with solar energy, they're going to dissociate the molecule, which is the chemist word for separating
Hydrogen from
hydrogen from
oxygen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you had it in your, and so now you have the hydrogen. Now they recapture carbon dioxide from the environment, and by their magic ways will combine the hydrogen, the carbon dioxide, and turn it into basically gasoline. So in that sense, it's not synthetic fuel,
No.
it's synthetically manufactured real fuel. And that
Okay.
means they don't have to change their engines. See? They don't have to
There
modify.
are some smart people
I know,
around.
I know.
How's that for innovation?
Another thing that intrigued me just as a scientist is to hear Federico just talk about the constraints put on him, the engineer, by the rules and regulations of the sport.
We need to think outside the box. Imagine, for example, me as an aerodynamicist. I play every day within these legality boxes. Regulations change every few years, such that it's like drawing a zero line and you restart again.
And what the public doesn't typically appreciate is that engineers love constraints.
Well, see, the
If
thing
you
is,
say, here, do it with anything you need, they're lost. You say, do it for this amount of weight, with that price, at this thing.
Because if you give us constraints, we always target ourselves to lie exactly on the limits.
Right on the limit, yeah.
If you're in complete control of your car, you're not in the race at all. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, of course, but the idea is something to reckon because you want to take the car to its limits.
Taking it beyond what is perceived to be its limit. If track and field athletes didn't have that mentality, we'd never get a record broken.
Oh, that's right. You would never run faster than you've ever run before.
The fascinating thing about the Silverstone track, you are at full throttle 60% of the race. As we found out, probably the fastest thing at the track is something you can't actually see, which would be all the data transfer.
Communications is one thing, but then Ferrari has to look at many other things. Intellectual property theft. Their design has to be safe and secure. So when they store their data is a very important place. If you know the concept of supply chain attacks or supply chain security, that's also very important, because if you have a nice car that has it's not like a plane with 1 million or 1 billion pieces, but I think there's a couple of 100,000 in there. And if one of them is faulty or hacked and it's digital, that can also create issues.
If someone gets into the supply chain and gives you a faulty bolt that will crumble on the third turn,
It can actually be lethal.
I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so therefore, not all the world is bits and bytes.
With the sponsorship, obviously, with Ferrari, and we can see it, it's visible. But what cybersecurity services do you provide? Is it just to Ferrari, or is it to F1 as a whole outfit?
When it comes to Ferrari, they use our threat intelligence feeds. So basically, they consume all the data that we have related to cyber crimes and to cyber attacks. We send them various indicators of compromise. Basically, if you see that indicator of compromise somewhere within your organization, it means that you have been already compromised. So we send this to them. They can secure not only themselves, but also their partners and their other people they're working with. This is what we do with Ferrari right now.
While we were in the Ferrari garage at the Formula One race in Silverstone, I noticed Bitdefender, your logo was on what they call the Halo.
The Halo.
The Halo, which is kind of their modern version of a roll bar, I guess. So it's definitely protecting their head in a very blunt way. But what attracted you to Ferrari in the first place?
We believe, as we actually started the discussion, that the engineering to build a race car and to drive a race car and the amount of speeds that they're driving, it's all about, decision making, the ingenuity, the innovation, and so on. And these are similar values to what we have in Bitdefender. We believe a lot of innovation, but also things that I do in my team with the cyber investigations, where we have to think fast in order to see what if there's a crime being committed and so on. So it was rather a decision of similar values. And that's why we decided on the Halo, because that's referring to actual protection and exactly what we do as well.
We see what Alex is saying there, that there is this resonance between what he does in his everyday life in cybersecurity and how Ferrari go about being a leader within Formula One racing. Alex, thank you so much. You've been superb with us.
Now, Gary, I got to level with you. I'm born and raised in New York City. We don't have relationships with cars. It's a very late in life thing.
Yeah,
I didn't learn how to drive until I was 25. You know, I have some fluency now because I'm intrigued that it is a thing.
Yeah.
But it was never sort of native to my core being. But to see all of the engineering, which boosts my interest in it, it's not just four wheels, it's like the aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, the material science that goes into it. It's a science project.